The USS Horizon moved slowly through the dark space around planet Zarian 7. Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge looking at the red and brown world spinning below them. She had short black hair and wore the blue uniform of the human space Navy. Her brown eyes showed worry as she read the reports about this dangerous planet. "Captain, we're getting that strange signal again," said Amanda Torres from her seat at the communications desk. Amanda was young with long blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. She wore headphones and kept pressing buttons on her control panel. "It sounds like someone calling for help, but the computer cannot understand the language." Lisa walked over to Amanda's station. The sound coming from the speakers was low and sad. It reminded Lisa of a hurt animal crying for its mother. "How long have we been getting this signal?" "About 6 hours now, Captain. It gets weaker and stronger, but it never stops." Amanda looked up at Lisa with worried blue eyes. "I think someone down there really needs help." Dr. Kevin Brooks walked onto the bridge carrying his tablet computer. Kevin was a tall man with red hair and green eyes. He studied alien animals and plants for the Human Science Division. "Captain, I have been reading about the creatures that live on this planet. The reports are very scary." Lisa turned to face Kevin. "Tell me what you found, Doctor." Kevin touched his tablet and a picture appeared on the main screen. The creature in the picture was as tall as a man, but looked like a monster from old Earth stories. It had dark gray skin covered in small metal-like scales. Its hands ended in claws that looked sharp enough to cut through steel. The creature's mouth was full of long white teeth, and yellow poison dripped from 2 fangs. Its eyes were large and bright orange. "These are called Thrikari," Kevin said. "They are the reason no one is allowed to visit this planet. The Galactic Council says they are too dangerous. They hunt in groups and can kill almost anything. Their claws can cut through most metals and their poison can kill a grown Vortanian in less than 10 minutes. Jake Sullivan walked up to join them. Jake was the ship's security chief, a big man with short brown hair and muscles that showed through his uniform. He carried a weapon on his belt and always looked ready for trouble. "Captain, I think we should stay away from this planet. The Council put it off limits for good reasons." Lisa looked at the picture of the Thrikari again. The creature did look very dangerous, but something about its large eyes made her think of sadness rather than anger. "That signal is definitely a call for help. We cannot just fly away when someone might be dying." "But Captain," Jake said, "if those things are as dangerous as the reports say, we could all die trying to help one of them." Amanda stood up from her chair. "Captain, the signal is getting much weaker. I think whoever is sending it is running. Out of power or getting worse." Lisa made her decision. "Dr. Brooks, get your medical supplies ready. Jake, pick 2 of your best people and prepare for a landing mission. Amanda, keep listening to that signal and try to find exactly where it is coming from." "Captain, this is a big mistake," Jake said, but he walked away to get his team ready. 2 hours later, a small landing ship left the USS Horizon and flew down to the surface of Zarian 7. Lisa sat in the pilot's seat, while Jake and 2 security officers sat behind her. Dr. Brooks sat next to Lisa, holding his medical bag and looking nervous. The planet's surface was covered with red rocks and strange purple plants. Steam came up from cracks in the ground, and the air looked thick and hot. "The air is safe to breathe," Brooks said, looking at his instruments. "But the temperature is very high, and there are lots of dangerous gases." "There," Amanda's voice came through the radio. "The signal is coming from those rocks about 1 mile to your left." Lisa turned the ship toward a group of tall red rocks. As they got closer, they could see that some of the rocks had fallen down and were lying in a pile. "It looks like there was a rock slide," Lisa said. They landed the ship near the pile of rocks and put on their protective suits. The suits would keep them safe from the hot air and dangerous gases. Jake and his team went out first, holding their weapons ready. Lisa and Dr. Brooks followed them. The sound of crying was much louder now. It came from under the pile of rocks, and it sounded full of pain and fear. "Something is trapped under there," Brooks said. He ran toward the rocks with his medical bag. "Doctor, wait," Jake called, but Brooks was already climbing over the fallen rocks. Lisa and the security team followed Brooks carefully. When they reached the top of the rock pile, They could see down into a small space between the rocks. Inside the space was a Thrakari. The creature was even bigger than Lisa had expected. Its gray scales were covered with dust, and some of them were cracked and bleeding. One of its arms was trapped under a heavy rock, and its orange eyes were closed. The Thrakari was making the sad crying sound they had heard on their ship. "Oh, you poor thing," Dr. Brooks said in a soft voice. He started climbing down into the space between the rocks. "Brooks, are you crazy?" Jake shouted. "That thing will kill you as soon as it wakes up." But Brooks was already next to the injured Thrakari. The creature opened its orange eyes and looked at the human. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the Thrakari made a sound like a cat hissing and showed all of its sharp teeth. "Easy, easy," Brooks said in the same soft voice he used to talk to scared animals back on Earth. "I am here to help you. I know you are hurt and scared." The Thrakari tried to move away from Brooks, but its trapped arm kept it from moving very far. It made the hissing sound again and held up its free hand, showing claws that were longer than Brooks' fingers. "Look at those beautiful eyes," Brooks said, not seeming to notice the claws at all. "You are scared, aren't you? Don't worry. We are going to get you out of here." Lisa could not believe what she was seeing. Dr. Brooks was talking to the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, like it was a hurt puppy. "Kevin, be very careful," she called down to him. Brooks opened his medical bag and took out a small device that could scan for injuries. The Thrakari watched him with its large orange eyes, but did not try to attack. "Your arm is broken," Brooks said, even though he knew the creature could not understand his words. "And you have some cuts that need to be cleaned." Jake looked at Lisa. "Captain, we need to get him out of there before that thing decides to eat him." But Lisa was watching the Thrakari's face. The creature's eyes were following Dr. Brooks' movements, and its expression looked more curious than angry. "I think it knows he is trying to help," she said. Brooks took out a small tool that could cut through rock. "We need to move this rock off your arm," he said to the Thrakari. The creature made a soft sound that was different from the hissing. It almost sounded like it was trying to talk. "Did you hear that?" Brooks called up to the others. "I think it is trying to communicate with us." Working together, the humans were able to move the heavy rock off the Thrakari's arm. The creature cried out in pain when its arm was freed, but the sound was relief mixed with hurt. Brooks immediately started treating the broken arm with his medical supplies. The Thrakari watched everything Brooks did. When the human gently cleaned the cuts on its scales, the creature made a sound like a cat purring. When Brooks wrapped the broken arm in a special bandage, the Thrakari touched the bandage with one claw, being very careful not to cut it. "This is amazing," Brooks said. "It understands that I am helping it. Look how gentle it is being with those claws." Lisa shook her head. She had expected to find a monster, but the creature looking up at them seemed more like a lost child than a dangerous predator. "Can we move it back to the ship?" she asked. "With some help, yes," Brooks answered. "But we need to be very careful with that broken arm." As they prepared to lift the injured Thrakari, Lisa wondered what the Galactic Council would say when they found out what the humans had done. She had a feeling that bringing this creature back to their ship was going to change everything. Back on the USS Horizon, the crew had turned one of the medical rooms into a safe place for their unexpected guest. The Thrakari lay on a special bed that Dr. Brooks had made bigger and stronger. The creature's broken arm was now in a cast, and the cuts on its scales were healing well. Amanda Torres had started calling the Thrakari Spike because of the small sharp points along its back. She thought the name was cute, even though Jake Sullivan told her she was crazy for giving a pet name to something that could kill her with one swipe of its claws. "Look how it watches everything we do," Amanda said, as she brought a bowl of water to the medical room. "It's like it's trying to learn about us." Dr. Brooks was sitting next to Spike's bed, making soft sounds and gentle movements with his hands. The Thrakari had stopped hissing at the humans, and now seemed to enjoy Brooks' attention. When Brooks petted the uninjured parts of its scales, Spike made a deep rumbling sound that reminded everyone of a cat purring. "This is not normal behavior for a dangerous predator," Brooke said to Captain Martinez, who was watching from the doorway. Spike is showing signs of high intelligence and social awareness. It knows we helped it and it's trying to show gratitude. Jake stood behind the captain with his arms crossed. Doctor, that thing could bite your head off before you could blink. Just because it's acting nice now doesn't mean it won't try to eat us later. Captain Martinez walked into the room slowly. Spike's large orange eyes followed her movements, but the creature did not seem afraid. What do you think, Kevin? Is it safe to keep it on the ship? I think Spike is more scared of us than we should be of it, Brooks answered. Watch this. He held out his hand toward Spike's face. The Thrakari looked at the hand for a moment, then very carefully touched it with the tip of one claw. The touch was so gentle that it would not have hurt a baby. Amazing, Martinez said. It knows exactly how sharp those claws are. Amanda came into the room carrying a tray of different foods from the ship's kitchen. I thought maybe Spike might be hungry. I brought some meat, some fruits, and some of those protein bars we eat. Spike's head turned toward the food and its nose moved as it smelled the different items. The creature made interested sounds and pointed at the meat with one claw. It wants the meat, Brooks said. That makes sense. The report said Thrakari are hunters. He picked up a piece of cooked chicken and held it out to Spike. The Thrakari took the meat very carefully, making sure not to scratch Brooks with its claws. It ate the chicken quickly and made happy purring sounds. Then it looked at Brooks and made a series of different sounds that almost seemed like words. Did you hear that? Amanda said excitedly. It's trying to talk to us. Before anyone could answer, the ship's communication system made a loud beeping sound. Captain Martinez to the bridge immediately, came the voice of Lieutenant Tim Carter, who was watching the ship's controls. Lisa left the medical room and hurried to the bridge. The main screen showed the image of a very angry alien. The creature had purple skin, forearms, and eyes that glowed with blue light. It wore fancy clothes covered with gold decorations. Captain Martinez, the alien said in a voice that sounded like metal scraping against stone. I am Ambassador Zethkri of the Vortanian Empire. You and your crew are in serious trouble. Lisa sat down in the captain's chair. Ambassador, we received a distress signal from the planet's surface. We only did what any civilized people would do. Civilized? Zethkri's forearms moved angrily. You have broken the most important law in the galaxy. Zarion 7 has been quarantined for over 300 years. No one is allowed to land on that planet or contact the creatures that live there. We saved an injured being, Lisa said. That creature was trapped and dying. That creature is a Thrakari, Zethkri shouted. They are the most dangerous killers in known space. 300 years ago, they destroyed entire colonies. They killed millions of innocent people. They hunt in packs like wild animals and show no mercy to anyone. Dr. Brooks walked onto the bridge, having heard the shouting. Ambassador, I have been studying our guest, and I think there has been a terrible misunderstanding. The Thrakari we rescued shows high intelligence and gentle behavior. Zethkri's glowing eyes got brighter with anger. Doctor, you are either very stupid or very naive. The Thrakari cannot be trusted. They are monsters who only understand violence and death. But Spike has been completely peaceful, Amanda said as she joined them on the bridge. It even purrs when we pet it. You have been petting it? Zethkri looked like he might faint. Are you all insane? Captain Martinez, you must return that creature to the planet immediately and leave this system. If you do not, the Galactic Council will send warships to force you to comply. Jake Sullivan stepped forward. Ambassador, with respect, we are not going to abandon an injured being just because you tell us to. That goes against everything humans believe in. Your human beliefs will get you all killed, Zethkri said. I am sending you the historical records of what the Thrakari did to the colonies. Maybe then you will understand the danger you are in. The communication ended, and files began appearing on the ship's computer. Lisa opened the first file and saw pictures of destroyed cities and burned forests. The reports talked about savage attacks and brutal killings, but as she read more carefully, she noticed something strange. Kevin, look at these dates, she said. All of these attacks happened over 300 years ago. And look at this. Every single attack was on colonies that were built on planets with valuable minerals or resources. Brooks read over her shoulder. That's interesting. And look at this report. It says the Thrakari attacked without warning, but there's no mention of anyone trying to communicate with them first. Amanda was working at her communication station. Captain, I'm picking up new signals from the planet. It looks like several ships are approaching our position. The main screen changed to show the long-range sensors. 6 large ships were moving toward the USS Horizon from the direction of Zerion 7. The ships had a design that no one had seen before, smooth and curved like living creatures. Those must be Thrakari ships, Jake said, checking his weapon systems. They probably came looking for their missing friend. Or they came to rescue Spike, Brooks suggested. Maybe they care about each other more than the reports say. Lisa made a decision. Jake, do not charge weapons. Amanda, try to contact those ships. Let's see if we can talk to them. Captain, this is a bad idea, Jake said. If those ships attack us, we won't be able to defend ourselves. If they wanted to attack us, they would have done it already, Lisa pointed out. They're keeping their distance and maintaining a defensive formation. That doesn't look like an attack pattern to me. Down in the medical room, Spike had heard the sounds of the approaching ships. The Thrakari was making new sounds, not the purring or the hissing from before, but something that sounded almost like singing. Dr. Brooks ran back to the medical room and found Spike sitting up in bed despite its injuries. The creature's orange eyes were bright with excitement, and it kept looking toward the ceiling as if it could see through the ship's hull to the approaching vessels. I think Spike knows those ships are coming, Brooks called to the bridge over the communication system. It's acting like it recognizes them. On the bridge, Amanda was trying different frequencies to contact the Thrakari ships. I'm not getting any response, Captain. Either they can't hear us or they don't want to talk. Keep trying, Lisa said. And Amanda, try playing some of the sounds that Spike has been making. Maybe that will get their attention. Meanwhile, Jake was watching the sensor readings of the Thrakari ships. Captain, these ships are much more advanced than our intelligence report suggested. Their technology looks at least as good as ours, maybe better. That doesn't sound like savage monsters to me, Brooks said over the communication system. Savage? Creatures don't build advanced starships. Lisa thought about everything they had learned, the historical records that showed attacks only on resource-rich colonies, the fact that all the attacks happened centuries ago, the advanced technology of the Thrakari ships, and most importantly, the gentle and intelligent behavior of Spike. I think we've been lied to, she said quietly. I think the Thrakari aren't the monsters everyone says they are. But Captain, Jake said, if the Thrakari aren't dangerous, why would the Galactic Council quarantine their planet? Why would they make up stories about savage attacks? Before Lisa could answer, Amanda's voice filled the bridge with excitement. Captain, I'm getting a response from the Thrakari ships. They're trying to communicate with us. The main screen filled with an image that made everyone gasp. A Thrakari face looked back at them, but this one was different from Spike. It was larger, with more decorative scales and bright blue markings around its eyes. When it spoke, the sounds were complex and musical. It's trying to talk to us, Amanda said. But I can't understand the language yet. Bring Spike to the bridge, Lisa ordered. Maybe it can help us translate. A few minutes later, Dr. Brooks wheeled Spike into the bridge on a mobile medical bed. When Spike saw the image on the screen, it made excited sounds and tried to sit, up despite its injuries. The Thrakari on the screen saw Spike and made similar excited sounds. Then both creatures began making a series of complex vocalizations that sound. Amanda Torres worked for 2 full days trying to understand the Thrakari language. She listened to recordings of Spike talking to the Thrakari on the ship's screen and wrote down every sound. Dr. Brooks helped her by watching how Spike moved, its body when it made different sounds. Look at this pattern, Amanda said, pointing to her notes. When Spike makes this low humming sound, it touches its chest with its good hand. I think that means me, or I am. Brooks nodded as he fed Spike some pieces of fish. The Thrakari had learned to eat human food and seemed to especially like seafood from Earth. And when it makes that clicking sound while pointing at us, I think it's asking our names. Captain Martinez came into the room where they were working. She looked tired because she had been talking to angry officials from the Galactic Council for hours. How is the translation work going? We're making progress, Amanda said. I think we can understand some basic words now. Watch this. She looked at Spike and made a series of clicking and humming sounds. Spike's orange eyes got bright with excitement. It made happy purring sounds and very gently touched Amanda's hand with the tip of one claw. Then it pointed at itself and made the low humming sound. It said its name, Brooks explained to Captain Martinez. Not Spike. Its real name is Krexthari, and I think it's some kind of leader among its people. A leader? Martinez sat down in a chair next to Spike's bed. That would explain why those ships came looking for it. Jake Sullivan walked into the room carrying his daily security report. Captain, those Thrakari ships are still keeping their distance, but they're not leaving either. It's like they're waiting for something. They're waiting for Krexthari to get better, Brooks said. I think they won't leave without their leader. Amanda played back one of her recordings. Captain, listen to this conversation between Krexthari and the Thrakari on the ships. I'm starting to understand some of it. The recording played sounds that were musical and complex. Amanda had learned to hear the differences between the various clicks, hums, and whistles that made up the Thrakari language. This word here, Amanda pointed to her notes, I think it means hurt or pain, and this one means help. But listen to this part. Krexthari keeps using a word that sounds like Vortan-E. That sounds like Vortanian to me. Captain Martinez felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Play that part again. Amanda played the recording again, and this time everyone could hear it clearly. Krexthari was saying something that sounded very much like Vortanian over and over, and the tone sounded angry and sad at the same time. Why would Krexthari be talking about Vortanians? Jake asked. They're the ones who told us to stay away from this planet. Dr. Brooks had been thinking about this question for hours. What if the Vortanians didn't want us to come here because they had something to hide? Before anyone could answer, Amanda's communication equipment started beeping. Captain, I'm getting a message from the Thrakari ships. I think they want to talk. The main screen showed the same large Thrakari they had seen before, but this time, there were other Thrakari standing behind it. They all had the same intelligent orange eyes and careful movements that Krexthari showed. Amanda tried using the words she had learned. She made clicking sounds and pointed at herself, then at Krexthari. The Thrakari on the screen listened carefully and then responded with similar sounds. I think I understand, Amanda said excitedly. The big one is called Vexmari, and I think it's asking if Krexthari is safe. Brooks helped Krexthari sit up so it could be seen on the screen. When Vexmari saw that Krexthari was alive and healing, all the Thrakari on the screen made happy, purring sounds. Then Vexmari began speaking in long, complex sentences. Amanda listened carefully and wrote down as much as she could understand. This is incredible, she said. I think Vexmari is telling us what really happened here. The word Vortan-E keeps coming up, and there are words that might mean attack, steal, and destroy. Captain Martinez leaned forward. Amanda, asked them about the attacks on the colonies 300 years ago. Amanda tried to form the question using the Thrakari words she had learned. It took several tries, but finally Vexmari seemed to understand what she was asking. The response was long and emotional. Vexmari's voice became sad and angry as it spoke. Other Thrakari joined in, and soon the screen was filled with creatures all talking at once in their musical language. They're very upset about something, Brooks observed. Look at their body language. They're not angry at us, but they're definitely angry about whatever they're remembering. Amanda worked hard to translate what she was hearing. I think they're saying that the Vortanians came to their colonies first. The Thrakari had settlements on other planets, places where they grew food and raised their families, but the Vortanians wanted the minerals under those colonies. Jake stepped closer to the screen. Are they saying the Vortanians attacked first? I think so, Amanda said, still listening and taking notes. The word pattern suggests that the Vortanians destroyed Thrakari homes and killed Thrakari families. The attacks on other species' colonies came later, when the Thrakari tried to fight back and find new places to live. The room became very quiet, as everyone realized what this meant. The Thrakari had not been savage monsters attacking innocent colonies. They had been refugees trying to survive after their own homes were destroyed. Dr. Brooks sat down heavily in his chair. So the Thrakari were the victims, not the attackers. And the Galactic Council has been keeping them trapped on this one planet for 300 years based on lies. But why would the Vortanians lie about what happened? Jake asked. Captain Martinez thought she knew the answer. Because if the truth came out, the Galactic Council would have to give the stolen planets back to the Thrakari. The Vortanians have probably been mining those worlds for centuries. Amanda was still translating the conversation with Vexmari. Captain, I think they're asking us to help them prove what really happened. They want to show the galaxy the truth. Before Martinez could respond, the ship's alarm started ringing. Lieutenant Carter's voice came over the communication system. Captain, to the bridge immediately. We have Vortanian warships approaching fast. Everyone hurried to the bridge with Dr. Brooks pushing Krexthari's medical bed. On the main screen, they could see 6 large Vortanian warships moving toward them at high speed. They're not answering our calls, Carter reported. And they're charging their weapons. Jake ran to the weapons control station. Captain, should I prepare our defenses? Wait, Martinez said. Let's see what they want first. The lead Vortanian ship sent a message, and Ambassador Zethkri's angry face appeared on the screen. Captain Martinez, you have ignored our warnings and violated galactic law. You will surrender the Thrakari creature immediately and submit to arrest. Ambassador, we have discovered some very interesting information about what really happened 300 years ago, Martinez said calmly. I think the Galactic Council would be very interested to hear the true story. Zethkri's forearms moved nervously. There is no true story except what is in the official records. The Thrakari are dangerous monsters, and you are fools for trusting them. Then explain this, Amanda said as she played a recording of her conversation with Vexmari. We have learned enough of their language to understand what they're really saying. They're not monsters. They're victims. The ambassador's glowing, blue eyes got brighter with anger. Those sounds mean nothing. You humans are too naive to understand alien psychology. The Thrakari are manipulating you. Dr. Brooks stepped forward. Ambassador, I have spent my whole career studying alien behavior. Krexthari has shown nothing but intelligence, gratitude, and gentleness. These are not the traits of a savage monster. You will not be allowed to spread these lies, Zethkri said. Surrender now or we will take the creature by force. Jake looked at his weapon controls. Captain, their ships are much bigger than ours. If they attack, we won't last long. Martinez looked at the Thrakari ships that were still maintaining their defensive position around the USS Horizon. Maybe we won't have to fight alone. She turned to Amanda. Can you ask Vexmari if the Thrakari will help us if the Vortanians attack? Amanda quickly sent the message using the Thrakari language. The response came back immediately, and Amanda smiled as she translated it. Vexmari says that humans showed kindness to Krexthari when no one else would. The Thrakari do not forget their friends. On the screen, they could see the Thrakari ships moving into better defensive positions around the human vessel. The ships were sleek and fast, and their movements showed they were ready for battle. This is your last warning, Ambassador Zethkri said. Surrender the creature and prepare to be boarded. Captain Martinez stood up straight and looked directly at the ambassador. Ambassador Zethkri, I refuse your demands. We will not abandon an injured being, and we will not ignore evidence of crimes committed by the Vortanian Empire. Then you have chosen to die, Zethkri said, and the communication ended. Jake watched his instruments as the Vortanian ships prepared to attack. Captain, they're powering up their main weapons. This is it. Martinez looked around the bridge at her crew, then at Krexthari, who was watching everything with its intelligent orange eyes. All crew, prepare for battle. The first Vortanian weapon blast hit the USS Horizon's shields and made the whole ship shake. Captain Martinez held onto her chair as sparks flew from the control panels around the bridge. "Shields down to 70%, Jake called out as he tried to return fire. "Captain, their weapons are much stronger than ours." Before Martinez could respond, the Thrakari ships moved into action. The 6 alien vessels flew around the USS Horizon like protective birds, their sleek hulls gleaming in the light from the nearby star. They fired weapons that shot bright blue energy beams at the Vortanian ships. "Look at them move," Amanda said in amazement. "The Thrakari ships are so fast and graceful." Dr. Brooks was watching Krexithari, who had managed to sit up in its medical bed despite its injuries. The Thrakari leader was making rapid clicking sounds and moving its good hand in complex patterns. "I think Krexithari is giving orders to its ships," Brooks said. "Look how it moves its hand and then the ships change direction." The Thrakari were not trying to destroy the Vortanian vessels. Instead, they seemed to be using their superior speed and agility to confuse and disable them. One Thrakari ship flew directly under a Vortanian warship and fired precisely at its weapon systems, knocking out its main guns without destroying the ship. "They're not killing the Vortanians," Jake observed. "They could have destroyed that ship, but they only took out its weapons." "That doesn't sound like savage monsters to me," Martinez said. "Even in battle, they're showing restraint." "Ambassador." Zethkri's voice came over the communication system and he sounded very angry. "Thrakari ships, stop your attack immediately. You are violating the quarantine of your planet." Vexmari's image appeared on the USS Horizon's main screen. The large Thrakari spoke in its musical language, and Amanda tried to translate. "I think Vexmari is saying that the quarantine was based on lies," Amanda said. "And now they have human witnesses who know the truth." The battle continued around them, but it was unlike any space battle the humans had ever seen. The Thrakari ships moved like dancers, working together to protect the USS Horizon while carefully disabling the Vortanian weapons. They could have easily destroyed the enemy ships, but they chose not to kill. "Captain," Lieutenant Carter called from his station. "I'm picking up communications signals being broadcast across the galaxy. Someone is transmitting everything that's happening here." Amanda checked her equipment. "That's me, Captain. I started broadcasting as soon as the battle began. Every species in the Galactic Council is watching this right now." Martinez smiled. "Good thinking, Amanda. Let the whole galaxy see how the Thrakari really behave in battle." On planets across the galaxy, millions of beings were watching the live broadcast. They saw the Vortanian ships attacking first, and they saw the Thrakari defending the humans while showing mercy to their enemies. Many species that had believed the old stories about savage Thrakari monsters began to question what they had been. How the tide of the battle turned quickly. The Thrakari ships were simply too fast and too well coordinated for the Vortanian forces. Within an hour, 5 of the 6 Vortanian warships had been disabled, their weapons destroyed but their crews unharmed. Ambassador Zethkri's ship was the only one still fighting. "This is impossible," he broadcast to the galaxy. "The Thrakari are supposed to be primitive savages. How do they have such advanced technology?" Dr. Brooks had been thinking about this question. "Amanda, ask Krexithari how long the Thrakari have been building starships." Amanda translated the question, and Krexithari's response surprised everyone. "Krexithari says the Thrakari have been traveling between stars for over 1,000 years, Amanda reported. "They were exploring space long before most other species even knew there were other planets with life." 1,000 years? Jake said. "That means they were one of the first spacefaring species in the galaxy, which makes the story about them being primitive monsters even more ridiculous," Martinez added. The broadcast of the battle was causing excitement across the galaxy. On the planet Centauri Prime, the Council of Elders held an emergency meeting. On the water world of Aquatica, the fish-like swimmers called for an investigation into the Thrakari quarantine. Even on distant Earth, humans were demanding answers about why their ship was under attack. Ambassador Zethkri made one last desperate attempt to destroy the USS Horizon. His ship charged directly at the human vessel, all weapons firing. But before he could reach them, 3 Thrakari ships moved between the Vortanian vessel and the USS Horizon. The Thrakari ships absorbed the weapon fire on their own shields and hulls. One of them was badly damaged, but they protected the humans. Without hesitation. They're willing to die to protect us, Brooks said quietly. These are not monsters, these are heroes. Krexathari made urgent sounds and pointed at the damaged Thrakari ship. Amanda quickly translated. Krexathari is worried about the crew of that ship. It wants to know if we can help them. Tell Krexathari that we will do everything we can. Martinez said. Jake, prepare a rescue shuttle. We're going to return the favor and help injured Thrakari. The final phase of the battle came when Vexmari's ship approached Ambassador Zethkri's vessel. Instead of destroying it, the Thrakari ship used a special device that Jake had never seen before. A blue energy field surrounded the Vortanian ship and gently stopped it from moving. What did they do? Jake asked. Amanda listened to the explanation. From Vexmari. They use something called a holding field. It stops the ship from moving or firing weapons, but it doesn't hurt anyone inside. Ambassador Zethkri found himself trapped and helpless. His ship could not move or fight, but his crew was completely safe. Over the communication system, his voice sounded defeated and frightened. This is not over, he said. The Galactic Council will never believe human lies about the Thrakari. They're not lies, Martinez replied. And the whole galaxy just watched. The Thrakari show mercy and restraint in battle. They could have killed all of you, but they chose not to. That's not the behavior of savage monsters. Dr. Brooks had an idea. Captain, what if we take Ambassador Zethkri to see the evidence? If we can show him proof of what the Vortanians did 300 years ago, maybe we can make him understand. What evidence? Martinez asked. Brooks looked at Krexathari. Amanda, ask Krexathari if there are any records left from the original Thrakari colonies, maybe ruins or old buildings that would prove they lived there first. Amanda translated the question, and Krexathari's response was long and detailed. Krexathari says there are ruins on at least 3 planets that used to be Thrakari worlds, Amanda reported. The Vortanians built their mining operations right on top of Thrakari cities, but some of the old buildings are still there underground. Perfect, Martinez said. Ambassador Zethkri, we're going to take you on a little field trip. You're going to see the evidence of Vortanian crimes with your own eyes. I will not cooperate with this illegal investigation, Zethkri replied. You don't have a choice, Jake said. Your ship can't move, and the whole galaxy is watching. If you refuse to look at the evidence, everyone will know you're hiding something. Meanwhile, the rescue operation for the damaged Thrakari ship was underway. Dr. Brooks and a medical team used shuttles to reach the injured Thrakari crew. When they brought the wounded aliens back to the USS Horizon, something amazing happened. The injured Thrakari were frightened at first, just like Krexathari had been. But when they saw their leader being cared for by the humans, they began to relax. Soon, Dr. Brooks had several Thrakari patients, and they were all showing the same gentle, intelligent behavior that Krexathari had displayed. Look at this, Brooks called to the others. This little one keeps trying to thank me. A young Thrakari, smaller than the others, was carefully touching Brooks's hand with the tip of its claw and making soft purring sounds. Jake Sullivan, who had been the most suspicious of the Thrakari from the beginning, found himself sitting next to the young alien. You know, Captain, this little guy reminds me of my old dog back on Earth. Same big eyes, same grateful expression. What are you, going to name it? Amanda asked with a smile. Jake thought for a moment. How about buttons? Look at those little round scales on its forehead. They look just like buttons. Everyone laughed, including the Thrakari, who seemed to understand that the humans were being friendly. The sound of laughter mixed with Thrakari purring created a warm, happy atmosphere that was being broadcast live across the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, beings watched humans and Thrakari caring for each other like old friends. The old fears and prejudices began to crumble as people saw the truth with their own eyes. Captain, Amanda said, I'm getting messages from all over the galaxy. Representatives from dozens of species are demanding an investigation into the Thrakari quarantine. Some of them are even calling for Ambassador Zethkri's arrest. Martinez looked at the Vortanian ambassador's trapped ship. I think it's time to go look at that evidence. The galaxy deserves to know the truth about what happened 300 years ago. As the USS Horizon and the Thrakari fleet prepared, To leave for the first of the ruined colony worlds, Captain Martinez realized that this day had changed everything. The galaxy would never be the same, and the friendship between humans and Thrakari was just the beginning of a much larger transformation. The planet Kepler 442b looked peaceful from space, but Captain Martinez knew that somewhere on its surface lay the ruins that would prove the truth about the Thrakari. The USS Horizon flew in formation with 6 Thrakari ships toward the planet, where Ambassador Zethkri claimed no Thrakari had ever lived. "Captain, I'm detecting large metal structures under the surface," Lieutenant Carter reported from his sensor station. "They're buried about 50 feet down, but they're definitely artificial." Ambassador Zethkri's voice came over the communication system from his trapped ship. "Those readings mean nothing. There could be any kind of old junk buried down there." Dr. Brooks was caring for 5 Thrakari patients in the medical bay, including Little Buttons, who had become very attached to Jake Sullivan. "Amanda, ask Krexthari what we should look for when we get to the surface." Amanda had become quite good at speaking the Thrakari language. After a brief conversation with Krexthari, she turned to Captain Martinez. "Krexthari says we should look for the Great Archive. It's a building where the Thrakari kept all their history and culture. If it's still there, it will have records of everything that happened." The landing party consisted of Captain Martinez, Dr. Brooks, Amanda, Jake, and a team of archaeologists from the ship's science department. They also brought Krexthari, despite its injured arm, because it was the only one who knew exactly where to look. Ambassador Zethkri demanded to come with them, claiming he wanted to prove the humans wrong. His forearms shook with anger as he followed the group across the planet's surface. The surface of Kepler 442b was covered with Vortanian mining equipment. Huge machines dug deep holes in the ground, searching for rare minerals. The air smelled of chemicals and burning fuel from the mining operations. "Look at all this destruction," Dr. Brooks said sadly. "They've turned a whole planet into a strip mine." Krexthari made angry clicking sounds as it saw the damage to its former home. Amanda translated its words. "Krexthari says this used to be a beautiful world with forests and clean rivers. The Thrakari lived here for thousands of years before the Vortanians came." They walked for an hour before Krexthari stopped and pointed at a spot where the ground looked different. "Here," Amanda translated. "The Great Archive is right here under all this dirt and rock." Jake used special equipment to scan beneath the surface. "There's definitely something big down there. It looks like a huge building made of some kind of metal I've never seen before." "Begin digging," Captain Martinez ordered. It took 6 hours of careful work to uncover the entrance to the buried building. When they finally cleared away enough dirt and rock, everyone gasped at what they found. The building was beautiful. Its walls were made of a silver metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Strange symbols covered the surface, and the door was shaped like a work of art. "This is incredible," one of the archaeologists said. "This building is at least 1,000 years old, maybe more. The construction techniques are more advanced than anything we've seen." Ambassador Zethkri stared at the building with wide eyes. This proves nothing. Maybe some other species built this before the Vortanians arrived." Krexthari limped forward and placed its good hand on a panel next to the door. The symbols on the wall began to glow brighter, and the door opened with a soft humming sound. "Biometric lock," Jake observed. "The building recognizes Krexthari's genetic signature. Only a Thrakari could open this door." Inside the Great Archive, the walls were covered with thousands of crystal tablets that contained information. In the center of the main room stood a device that looked like a holographic projector. Krexthari approached the device and touched several controls. Suddenly, the room filled with 3-dimensional images showing the history of the Thrakari people. The first images showed Kepler 442b as it had been centuries ago. Beautiful cities with curved spires reached toward the sky. Thrakari families walked through parks filled with strange but lovely plants. Children played in clear streams while their parents watched with gentle smiles. "It's paradise," Amanda whispered. "They built a perfect world." The images changed to show Thrakari scientists working in laboratories and exploring space in their elegant ships. They were clearly an advanced, peaceful civilization that valued knowledge and beauty. Then the images became darker. Vortanian ships appeared in the sky above the Thrakari cities. The first meetings between the two species seemed friendly, with Vortanians and Thrakari exchanging gifts and sharing meals. "Look," Dr. Brooks pointed to the hologram. They welcomed the Vortanians as friends. But the friendship did not last. The next images showed Vortanian mining equipment being brought to the planet. At first, the Thrakari allowed small mining operations in areas far from their cities. But soon the Vortanians wanted more and more land. The holograms showed meetings between Thrakari leaders and Vortanian officials. Even without understanding the language, everyone could see that the meetings were becoming angry and hostile. Ambassador Zethkri watched the images with growing discomfort. His forearms fidgeted nervously as the truth unfolded before his eyes. The worst images came next. Vortanian warships opened fire on Thrakari cities. Peaceful families fled from their homes as explosions destroyed everything they had built. Thrakari defenders fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and unprepared for such brutal warfare. They were slaughtered, Jake said quietly. The Vortanians murdered entire cities of innocent people. The holograms showed the survivors, thousands, of Thrakari refugees loading onto ships and fleeing their ruined homeworld. These were the Thrakari who had later been forced to attack other colonies when they had nowhere else to go. "Now do you understand?" Captain Martinez asked Ambassador Zethkri. "Your people destroyed their civilization and then called them monsters when they fought back." Zethkri's glowing blue eyes dimmed with shame. I did not know. The official records never mentioned any of this. We were told the Thrakari attacked us without warning." Krexathari activated another part of the archive, and new images appeared. These showed other Thrakari worlds being destroyed in the same way. Planet after planet fell to Vortanian greed, and each time the survivors were forced to flee and find new homes. "How many worlds?" Dr. Brooks asked. Amanda translated the question for Krexathari. 17, Amanda said after hearing the answer. The Vortanians destroyed 17 Thrakari worlds over a period of 50 years. Jake shook his head in disgust. And then they locked the survivors on one planet and told the galaxy they were dangerous monsters. The final images from the archive showed the Thrakari being driven back to Zerion 7, their last remaining world. The planet was harsh and difficult, but they had made it their home because they had nowhere else to go. "Captain," Amanda said, "Krexathari wants to show us something else." The Thrakari leader activated a different section of the archive. These images were more recent, showing Vortanian ships secretly visiting Zerion 7 and taking resources from the planet's surface. "They've been stealing from us even while we were in quarantine," Amanda translated. "The Vortanians have been mining Zerion 7 for 300 years while telling everyone it was too dangerous to visit." Ambassador Zethkri slumped against the wall. "This is a disaster. If this information reaches the Galactic Council, it will destroy everything my people have built." "Your people built their empire on lies and murder," Captain Martinez said firmly. "The galaxy deserves to know the truth." "What? What will happen to us?" Zethkri asked. Dr. Brooks looked at Krexathari, who was watching the Vortanian ambassador with its large orange eyes. "Amanda, ask Krexathari what the Thrakari want to happen to the Vortanians." After a brief conversation, Amanda smiled. "Krexathari says the Thrakari don't want revenge. They just want their stolen worlds back, and the right to live in peace." "That's it?" Jake asked. "After everything the Vortanians did to them, they just want their homes back?" "Krexathari says that hatred and revenge only create more pain," Amanda translated. "The Thrakari want to build, not destroy." Captain Martinez activated her communication device. "This is Captain Martinez broadcasting to the Galactic Council and all member species. We have found proof of massive war crimes committed by the Vortanian Empire against the Thrakari people. The quarantine of Zerion 7 was based on lies designed to cover up genocide and theft. Over the next few hours, representatives from dozens of species arrived at Kepler 442b to see the evidence for themselves. The Great Archive was open to everyone, and the truth about the Thrakari spread across the galaxy. The Galactic Council held an emergency session and voted to end the quarantine immediately. The Vortanian Empire was ordered to return all stolen Thrakari worlds and pay compensation for 3 centuries of illegal mining operations. Ambassador Zethkri was arrested, but Krexathari asked the council to show mercy. The Thrakari leader said that punishing individuals would not undo the past, and that the focus should be on building a better future. 6 months later, Dr. Brooks stood in his new laboratory on Zarian 7, which had become the first interspecies research station in the galaxy. Human and Thrakari scientists worked side by side, sharing knowledge and friendship. "How are our new residents settling in?" Captain Martinez asked as she visited the station.